Hey friends, Dan here again. Wanted to share something with you, a little bit about my story. So last week, there was an anniversary of mine, one that not many know about it. Even to be honest with you, Lori doesn't know the whole story. What was it for? Well, 14 years ago last week, my life changed. Wasn't getting married or having a child. It wasn't achieving something big. Actually, in a way, it was. Bear with me on that, and I'll kind of explain how that is. So, about 14 years ago, last week, I had a doctor's appointment. I had just turned 40, 54 now, and my then wife was nagging me to get a physical, like most wives do. And then, like most guys, I had fought going to see the doctor. I never went to the doctor. I had to be on my deathbed before I would go. But she was nagging me, and thank God she did. And to the doctor appointment I made. Be honest with you, I hadn't had a physical probably at that point in 5, 6 years, somewhere in that area. And why didn't I go to get physicals? I mean, we're supposed to go every year and get one. Here's the honest answer. I was fat. Not overweight, not obese, capital F, capital A, capital T, fat. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to get lectured by the doctor about it, which had happened the prior physical and heck, a few physicals before that. As they say, ignorance is bliss, and let me tell you, my friends, I was quite blissful. But to the doctor's appointment I went, and as I'm sure you know, pretty much the first thing they do after you do all your paperwork, but you go into the office, is they have you step on a scale. And let me tell you, my friends, I was dreading that moment because I knew what was coming, and I was about to face some serious reality. Little did I know I was facing even more reality than I expected. I kind of knew what was coming, sort of, I guess the way I would put it. I hadn't weighed myself in years. We didn't even have a scale at the house. I knew I was a little bit overweight, at least that's what I convinced myself of. And, I stepped on the scale. And it was one of those scales like we have here at FCFNY, or pretty much every doctor's office, with little sliding weights on it. So the nurse went up, she set it to 200 pounds, the big one, and then started sliding the little one over and over and over and over, and went all the way over to the right. So at that point, we knew I weighed at least 250 pounds. Okay. Then she moved the big one to 250 and started sliding again. And uh-oh, it went all the way to the right again. So now we're looking at 300 pounds. This is when it got serious. So then she moved the big weight to 300 pounds and started sliding the little one again. And let me tell you, my friends, it went all the way to the right again. It was at 350 pounds and it was pegged, meaning that I weighed not only 350 pounds, but way more than that. And to be honest with you, I was freaking at that moment. So she wrote down on the chart, and I saw her do it, 350 plus next to my weight. And I'm not faulting her for putting the plus. It was plus. Let's be honest about it. Next thing they did, they took my blood, and so they could do blood tests, and into the room I go and wait for the doctor. And I'm a whirl of emotions at this point. I'm pissed, hated myself, felt sorry for myself, blamed myself, you name it. I had excuses running through my mind, the whole gamut. A little after that, doctor comes in and does the whole pleasantries thing, and kind of looks at the chart and then looks at me. And that moment I'd been dreading all along, well, that moment was coming. Now, this doctor's a great guy. He's fantastic. I actually somewhat became friends with him. And he wasn't judging me. He really wasn't. But his bedside manner, well, let's just say he didn't pull punches. He told you how it was. Kind of like I am, to be honest with you. It's probably why I became friends with him. And he told me, he kind of looked me in the eye and said, we've got a little bit of a problem here. And, he went on to say he'd never seen the scale get pegged like that before, that he couldn't get a true weight, which was a surprise to me. And long story short, he went about, did the physical, and, he said to me, we've got to do something about your weight. We've got to get it down. But before we look into what we're going to do, let me get the results of the blood test back. Okay, sounds good to me. He talked a little bit more about eating fruits and veggies, cut down on the sweets, so on and so forth. Um, but that was pretty much where we left it. And to be honest with you, it did resonate a little bit. Yeah, I know, I gotta lose weight, blah, 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 blah. But it went in one ear and out the other, as it had so many times before. Heck, in the past I tried the fad diets. I probably would have tried it again. But then about a week later, I got a phone call from the doctor's office. The nurse called me and she said, the blood test results are in and the doctor needs to see you. Uh-oh. That one did not sound good. So an appointment was set. A few days later, I went into the doctor's office. Um, Side note real quick, guess what? I had to step on that damn scale again, and she moved it right to 300, right to 350, pegged. I don't want to digress on that. So I go in the room, and I gotta be honest with you, I'm shaking a little bit. I'm nervous. Something's not right. Doc comes in, proceeds to have a seat, pulls out the chart, pulls out the blood test results, and I looked on his face, and I knew this was not going to be good. Oh boy, was I right too. In addition to being grossly overweight, forget that. I wasn't overweight. I was fat. Okay. I was a borderline diabetic. I had high cholesterol, well over 200. My blood pressure was just under hypertensive, and by just under, I mean literally 1 point under hypertensive. And then that moment came, the words that changed my life 14 years ago last week. Verbatim, this is what he said. If you don't do something about this soon, you'll be dead before you're 50. Looked me right in the eye and said that. Told you he was blunt, didn't I? And thank God he was, because had he played nice, had he kumbaya'd me, as I say it, as he, had kind of done the week before, it would have gone in one ear and out the other, and that would have been that. But the way he said it, the way he looked at me, that hit me like a truck. At the time, here I had just turned 40. I had 6 kids, ranging in age from teens down to 7 years old. And I'm potentially facing being dead before my youngest graduates from high school. Pretty sobering moment. The worst part was I knew he was right. I knew deep down in my heart that something was wrong, and that, there was very good likelihood I would be dead by the time I was 50. It was life-changing, as I've talked about. And here's the good news with it. 14 years later, I'm not only still alive, but truthfully, I'm probably in the best shape of my life at least since high school. I went home. I had a serious talk with myself. It was a sobering time. I worked out a bit all along. I've always worked out my whole life. I played football every weekend, so it wasn't like I wasn't exercising, at least in some way, but I really wasn't exercising. He was playing a game. And I knew that, I had to give up my 3-pound bag of M&Ms and 3 bottles of soda every Sunday. Usually while watching football, but that's what I did every single Sunday. And I knew I had to get my life on track. And I began to get my life on track. Began eating better, committed to working out every single day, at least in some way. Long story short, changes started to happen. But it didn't happen overnight like most people think is going to happen. I had a lot of pitfalls. I had a lot of slips along the way. But when that happened, I got back on track. Why? Because I kept that sentence in the back of my brain all along. If you don't do something about this soon, you'll be dead by the time you're 50. So it took me well over a year to get my weight down by about 120 pounds. I did eventually step on a scale that I found that was 385 pounds was the top number, and I pegged that sucker. So we kind of guessed my weight was a little over 400 pounds. So I got that down. My body fat, which was, we started registering that, I dropped by almost 25%. I was well over 40, and I actually got, at the time, I was around 18-19% body fat. My blood pressure dropped significantly. Didn't have to worry about potentially sticking a needle in my thigh, insulin, every single day, or pricking my finger multiple times a day to check my sugar. Let's fast forward to today. I've kept the weight off. Pretty much same weight I was back then. My blood pressure, I just had it done last week, and it's been pretty steady for the last few years at 115/75. That's pretty good numbers, kids. My cholesterol is well in line with where it's supposed to be. In fact, it's very below normal, so to speak, which is what the doctor loves. And that risk of diabetes and those needles, gone, gone forever. Was it easy? No, it wasn't. Is it tough to stay on track still? You better believe it is. Do I slip up from time to time and have those days, moments? You betcha. But in the back of my mind, that sentence looms. If I don't do something about this, I'll be dead before I'm 50. So friends, this is why I'm making this video and kind of telling you about my story. I'm 54 years old right now. I'm 4 years past that potential death. I'm looking forward to the next 50 years. You know, I had that come to Jesus moment, and I know some of you have. You may have done something about it. You may not have. You may be here at FCFNY because that's what you want to do, is do something about it. Others of you kind of know it's coming, like I kind of did. You know you're going to go to the doctor and they're going to tell you need to lose weight, get in shape, blah, 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 blah. And others of you, again like me, may want to live in denial and avoid going to the doctor because of it. You know, if I don't go, I'm not going to hear what I don't want to hear. But remember this, you don't have to have it this way. You can change the way things are. It's not impossible. If I can do it, anybody can do it. You just got to face the reality. That's the honesty that you need to hear. You've got to face reality. And you've got to choose to do something about it. You can live in denial or you can do something about it. Because my friends, if you don't, and this is me being totally blunt and honest with you, you too might be facing death long before you think you would. It's just not worth it. Put yourself and your family first. Trust me, it's the best decision I've ever made in my life, and it's one I hope you'll make too. So there's a little bit about my story. Hopefully it resonates with some of you. I know it's a little bit long on the video, but I thought it was important that you all saw it. So have a great day.